Okay, building off the named views and named UCS video a little bit, we're now going to just give you a quick overview, I think, of some steps that are going to be helpful in speeding up the process of getting viewports, getting them scaled, and just give you a general understanding quick about what's happening within viewports. So if you remember from the previous video, we have Formal Gardens and Learning Center. So those views not only can be recalled here, but they can be recalled in a viewport. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Layout tab. This layout currently has no viewports on it. I'm going to go ahead and modify my page setup, give me a little bit more space to work with. I will set this to, just going to select the Adobe printer to give myself a list of sheet sizes. And let's go E1 so we can have a 30 by 42 sheet. Landscape. I'm going to say OK. And close. The one thing to pay attention to whenever you're setting your viewports is knowing what units you're using. So this is architectural units, so I know when I set my viewport scale I have to consider feet and inches. So that's always important to check. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a viewport. First thing is I'm going to define it by a rectangle. In this case I'm going to set 2 viewports just for the sake of this example. And I'm under this viewports. Actually, on a side note, I just want to point out that there's 2 options grayed out here, and you'll notice when I jump to model space the options are different. Viewports in model space mean something completely different than layout. I'm not going to go over that in this session. Just going to talk about layouts, but just be aware that's why things are grayed out versus available depending on whether you're in model or layout. So I'm going to click on this little drop down and do create viewport from object. Click on the first rectangle. I'm going to click on this, click on the next rectangle, and I have 2 viewports set up with at World UCS, which is by default, and zoomed extents. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a viewport of the Formal Gardens. So if I click in here and I have a named view, I can click on Formal Gardens, and just as in model space, it rotates it so that the UCS and view are restored. Double click into this viewport, click on Learning Center, and again, same thing. So I have these views restored as I save them. However, they're not currently at a scale. The quickest way to set a scale is through what is called the viewport toolbar. Unfortunately, it's a little bit difficult to get to through the ribbons. The easiest way to get there is through the menu bar. So we're going to turn on the menu bar by clicking on our drop down menu, which is next to our print preview button, and scroll down till we see show menu bar. And under the menu bar we have tools, toolbars, AutoCAD, and viewports. So this gives us some of the create viewport options that we had similar to here, but the biggest benefit to this is the one place in AutoCAD that allows us to type in both feet and inches into a dialog box for scale. So if I select the viewport, come over to my viewport toolbar and type in 1 inch equals 50 feet, I now have a scaled version of that viewport at 1 inch equals 50 feet. Again, this is the only place where you can type in 1 inch equals 50 feet. Any other place you have to do the math, which would be 1 inch equals how many other inches, so 50 times 12 would be 1 inch equals 600 inches. I'm going to select this viewport and lift this one to 1 inch equals 20 feet. So now I have a viewport at 20 scale, viewport at 50 scale. Again, I encourage you, once you've created these, if I highlight them and right click, display locked, say yes. So at this point I do not have to worry about affecting my scale by zooming. The other thing to note is if I put these viewports on a layer and then I freeze that layer, I apologize, if I turn that layer off, can hide the border that defines it. So that is creating multiple viewports, getting the viewport toolbar up, and setting your views based on saved and named views and UCSs. Important thing to note about this, obviously I have two different UCSs here, so I would need a north arrow for both plans. Otherwise, you can do this for as many views and as many viewports as you want.